In just 30 seconds, what started as a standard celebrity appearance on This Morning transformed into an absolute car crash that left viewers' jaws on the floor. The Duchess of Sussex went from composed royal to unleashing a side of herself that no one saw coming, turning Dermot O'Leary's studio into a battlefield that culminated in the most dramatic exit in daytime television history. The tension was palpable from the moment Meghan Markle walked onto the This Morning set. Something felt off. Her usual polished demeanor seemed strained, her smile tight and forced, as she settled into the iconic cream sofa opposite Dermot O'Leary. The seasoned presenter, known for his warm interviewing style and ability to put guests at ease, immediately picked up on the atmosphere. "Meghan, wonderful to have you back on British television," Dermot began with his characteristic Irish charm, leaning forward slightly. "It's been quite some time since we've seen you on UK screens. How does it feel to be back?" Meghan's response came with a sharpness that caught everyone off guard. "Well, Dermot, I'm not sure 'wonderful' is the word I'd use, considering the circumstances that led to my last departure from this country." Her voice carried an edge that hadn't been there in previous interviews, her American accent seeming more pronounced, almost offensive. Dermot's eyebrows raised slightly, but he maintained his professional composure. "Right. Well, let's talk about your new ventures then. You've been incredibly busy with various projects." "Have I?" Meghan interrupted, her tone growing increasingly combative. "Or is that just what the British press wants people to believe? That I'm some sort of media-hungry celebrity desperate for attention?" The studio audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This wasn't the gracious, measured Meghan they'd seen in previous appearances. Camera operators exchanged glances as the director frantically gestured from behind the scenes, sensing this was spiraling into uncharted territory. Dermot tried to regain control, his voice remaining steady but with a hint of confusion. "I'm sorry, Meghan. I think there might be some misunderstanding here. We're simply here to discuss your current projects and—" "Current projects?" Meghan's laugh was bitter, almost mocking. "You mean the projects that your tabloids have spent months tearing apart? The ones they've called desperate attempts at relevance and failed Hollywood dreams? Those projects, Dermot?" The presenter's professional mask began to slip slightly. He'd conducted thousands of interviews throughout his career, but this level of immediate hostility from a guest was unprecedented. "Meghan, I have to say, I'm not quite sure where this is coming from. We invited you here to give you a platform to speak positively about your work." "A platform?" Meghan's voice rose, her composure completely abandoning her now. "Is that what you call it, when every question is designed to trap me? When every topic leads back to the same narrative you've all been pushing for years?" Viewers at home were glued to their screens, many reaching for their phones to start recording what was clearly becoming television gold. Social media was already beginning to buzz with clips and commentary as the interview took its dramatic turn. Dermot leaned back slightly, his interviewing instincts kicking in as he tried to de-escalate the situation. "Look, Meghan, I think we might have gotten off on the wrong foot here. Perhaps we could start over? Talk about something you're genuinely excited about?" But Meghan was having none of it. Her eyes flashed with an anger that seemed to have been building for months, if not years. "Start over? Like how I was supposed to start over when I came to this country? Like how I was supposed to just accept the way I was treated by your media, your public, your entire system?" The atmosphere in the studio had become electric with tension. Crew members were frozen in place, unsure whether to intervene or let this unprecedented moment play out. This wasn't just an interview going wrong. This was a complete breakdown of the careful media training and royal protocol that had defined Meghan's public appearances for years. "I'm trying to understand where this anger is coming from," Dermot said, his voice taking on a slightly firmer tone. "But I have to say, this feels quite unfair to our viewers and to me personally. We've always been respectful in our coverage." "Respectful?" Meghan's voice cracked with incredulous laughter. "You think what passes for journalism in this country is respectful? The constant scrutiny, the manufactured controversies, the way every single thing I do gets twisted into some sort of scandal? What had started as subtle tension was now erupting into something far more explosive, and everyone in that studio knew they were witnessing something that would be talked about for years to come." Dermot's patience was wearing thin, his usual diplomatic approach crumbling under the weight of Meghan's relentless attacks. Right, hold on just a minute, he said, his Irish accent becoming more pronounced as his voice hardened. I think you need to take a step back here. You came on our show, Meghan. Nobody forced you. If you have issues with British media, perhaps you should have declined the invitation. The words hit Meghan like a slap across the face. Her perfectly styled hair seemed to bristle as she sat up straighter, her eyes narrowing dangerously. Excuse me? Did you just tell me that I should have stayed silent? That I should have just accepted whatever narrative you people want to spin? That's not what I said at all, and you know it. Dermot shot back, his professional veneer finally cracking completely. But what I won't do is sit here and be attacked for simply trying to conduct an interview. Our viewers deserve better than this. The mention of viewers seemed to trigger something primal in Meghan. She turned slightly toward the camera, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Oh, the viewers. Yes, let's talk about what they deserve. Do they deserve to know how their beloved morning show ambushed me with questions designed to humiliate me? How this entire appearance was set up to make me look unstable? Dermot's jaw dropped slightly. The accusation was so outrageous, so completely unfounded, that for a moment he was speechless. Behind the cameras, the show's producer was frantically signaling, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let this train wreck continue to unfold live. Ambushed you? Dermot's voice rose significantly now, his composure completely abandoned. Meghan, I asked you how it felt to be back and about your projects. That's hardly an ambush. That's literally what we told your people we'd be discussing. My people? Meghan's laugh was harsh and bitter. You mean the same people who probably sold me out to you? Who probably told you exactly what buttons to push to get this reaction? The accusation hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Dermot stared at her in complete disbelief, his hands gripping the armrests of his chair. Are you suggesting that your own representatives conspired against you? That's frankly paranoid, Meghan. The word paranoid was the match that lit the fuse. Meghan's face flushed red with rage, her voice becoming shrill and unhinged. Paranoid? Paranoid? You have the audacity to sit there and call me paranoid after what I've been through? After the way this country and its media destroyed my mental health, my marriage, my entire life? Your marriage? Dermot couldn't help himself now, the journalist in him taking over. Meghan, you left the royal family of your own accord. You and Harry made that choice together. You can't blame everyone else for... Don't! Meghan screamed, pointing a perfectly manicured finger directly at Dermot's face. Don't you dare bring Harry into this! Don't you dare suggest that any of what happened was our choice when you people made our lives a living hell. The studio had gone completely silent, except for the sound of Meghan's heavy breathing and the low hum of the cameras still rolling. Audience members were slack-jawed, some covering their mouths in shock. This wasn't just an interview gone wrong anymore. This was a complete psychological breakdown, happening live on national television. Dermot tried one last time to salvage the situation, his voice now firm but attempting to be calming. Meghan, I think we should take a break. Maybe get you some water. Let you collect yourself. Collect myself? Meghan stood up abruptly, the sudden movement causing the camera operators to scramble to adjust their shots. You think I need to collect myself? You think this is me having some sort of breakdown for your entertainment? She began pacing behind the sofa, her hands gesturing wildly as she spoke. This is what happens when you push someone too far. This is what happens when you spend years trying to destroy someone and then act surprised when they finally fight back. Dermot remained seated, but his body language had shifted completely. He was no longer the warm, welcoming host, but a man clearly concerned about his guest's mental state and his own safety. Meghan, please sit down. Let's try to have a civil conversation. Civil? She whipped around to face him, her voice reaching a pitch that made several crew members wince. You want civil? After your industry spent years being anything but civil to me? After they made me want to. She stopped herself, but the implication hung heavy in the air. The gravity of what she'd almost said seemed to hit everyone in the studio simultaneously. Dermot's expression softened slightly, genuine concern replacing anger. Meghan, if you're struggling, there are people who can help, but taking it out on everyone around you isn't the answer. But his attempt at compassion only seemed to enrage her further. Don't you dare try to play therapist with me now! Don't you dare pretend to care after you've spent the last 20 minutes trying to tear me down just like everyone else. The situation had spiraled so far beyond anything anyone in that studio had ever experienced that there was no roadmap for how to handle it. And as Meghan continued her tirade, it became clear that this was only the beginning of what would become the most shocking television moment in recent memory. Dermot made one final attempt to restore some semblance of professionalism to what had become a complete disaster. Standing up from his chair, he held up both hands in a gesture that was part surrender, part attempt to calm the situation. Meghan, I'm going to ask you one more time to please sit down and let's try to end this interview with some dignity intact. But dignity was the last thing on Meghan's mind. She turned on him with the fury of someone who had been holding back years of resentment and finally found her target. Dignity? You want to talk to me about dignity? Where was my dignity when your newspapers published lies about me making Kate cry? Where was my dignity when they called my children names? Where was my fucking dignity then, Dermot? The expletive cut through the studio like a knife. Gasps could be heard from the audience, and several crew members exchanged shocked glances. This was live television, and she'd just sworn on one of Britain's most family-friendly morning shows. Dermot's face hardened, his professional patience finally reaching its absolute limit. Right, that's enough. I've tried to be patient with you. I've tried to understand whatever issues you're dealing with. But I will not have you use that language on my show, and I will not have you attack my colleagues or this industry as a whole, because you can't handle criticism. Can't handle criticism? Meghan's voice reached a shriek that made the sound engineers wince and quickly adjust their levels. Criticism? You call systematic harassment and racism criticism? You call driving someone to the brink of suicide criticism? She was fully unhinged now, pointing accusingly not just at Dermot but at the cameras, at the crew, at everyone in the studio. This is exactly what I expected from you people. This is exactly why I left this godforsaken country in the first place. Dermot had heard enough. His voice, when he spoke, was cold and final. Then perhaps you should have stayed away. If you hate it here so much, if you think so little of our country and our people, then why are you here? Why did you come on this show if all you wanted to do was attack us? The question hung in the air like a challenge, and for a moment, Meghan seemed genuinely stumped. Her mouth opened and closed several times as she struggled to find a response that wouldn't make her look even more unhinged than she already did. She started, then stopped, her face flushing an even deeper shade of red. I came here to set the record straight. But clearly, that was a mistake, because none of you are capable of listening to the truth. The truth? Dermot's voice rose again, his Irish accent thick with frustration. The truth is that you've spent the last 15 minutes attacking me personally, attacking this show, attacking this entire country, and all because I asked you about your projects. The truth is that you came here with an agenda, and when the interview didn't go the way you wanted, you decided to have a complete meltdown on live television. The words hit Meghan like physical blows. She stood there, swaying slightly, her chest heaving with rapid breaths as the full weight of what had just happened began to sink in. Around her, the studio was in complete chaos. The producer was frantically trying to decide whether to cut the feed. Audience members were filming on their phones despite strict no-recording policies, and the crew stood frozen, unsure whether to intervene. You know what? Meghan's voice had dropped to a dangerous whisper, but the microphones picked up every word. You're right. Coming here was a mistake. A huge fucking mistake. I thought maybe, just maybe, there was one person in this country who might treat me with basic human decency, but I should have known better. She began pulling off her microphone with shaking hands, her movements erratic and aggressive. You want to know why Harry and I left? This is why. This exact attitude. This constant need to tear down anyone who doesn't fit your narrow little British mold. Dermot watched her struggle with the mic pack, his anger now mixed with genuine concern for her mental state. Meghan, please, just take a breath. Don't! She screamed, whirling around to face him one last time. Don't you dare try to calm me down now. You got what you wanted, didn't you? You got your viral moment, your ratings boost, your chance to humiliate the ungrateful American who dared to marry into your precious royal family. With a final violent tug, she ripped the microphone pack free, the sudden feedback causing a sharp squeal through the studio speakers. She threw the device down onto the coffee table with such force that it bounced and clattered to the floor. "This interview is over," she declared, her voice carrying across the now silent studio. "And don't you ever contact me or my representatives again. I'm done with all of you. I'm done with this show, and I'm done with this country." She stormed toward the exit, her heels clicking loudly against the studio floor in the stunned silence. But just before she reached the doors, she turned back one final time, her face a mask of pure rage and humiliation. "And for the record," she shouted, her voice cracking with emotion, "when this country finally realizes what it's lost, when you see what Harry and I accomplished without you, don't you dare try to take credit for it." With that, she shoved through the studio doors with such force that they slammed against the walls. The sound echoed through the studio like a gunshot, leaving behind a silence so complete that the only sounds were the hum of the cameras and the shocked whispers from the audience. Dermot stood there for a long moment, staring at the doors she'd just stormed through, his face a mixture of shock, exhaustion, and professional concern. Finally, he turned back to the camera, running a hand through his hair as he tried to process what had just happened. "Well," he said quietly, his voice hoarse from the confrontation, "that was unprecedented. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have our cooking segment with James Martin." The red recording light finally went dark, but everyone in that studio knew they had just witnessed something that would be replayed, analyzed, and talked about for years to come. In just under 30 minutes, what should have been a standard celebrity interview had become the most explosive television moment in recent memory, ending with one of the most dramatic exits in broadcasting history. As crew members began to slowly move around the set, collecting equipment and trying to return to normal, the magnitude of what had just occurred was only beginning to sink in. The interview was over, but the fallout was just beginning.